The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan. I'm Lindsay DeLucia. Today we're going to be talking about winter road maintenance preparation and how the city is getting ready for the upcoming season. So first off, Rich Sullinger is here joining me from the city of Alpena. Thanks so much for joining us, Rich.
Thank you. Good morning, Lindsay.
So if you could just start off by telling me when planning begins for the winter season and what you guys do to prepare for winter maintenance.
Our budget process actually starts in the spring of the year, and we try to program money for an above average winter. If we have a real severe one, obviously we go over budget. If we have a light one, we go under budget, but we target a moderate to heavy winter with our funding levels to accommodate snow and ice removal. Actual winter preps for the equipment start in late August, early September, getting the salt spreaders, the trucks ready, doing final maintenance and getting them set to go for the winter snow season.
And do you know about how much of the yearly budget goes toward this? Is it a big chunk in the budget?
It's a major portion. I would say 70 to 75% of the budget is set aside for winter maintenance, for materials, salt, gas, fuel, maintenance of the vehicles, rental on the vehicles, and our labor and equipment.
Of course, there's a lot that goes into it. And tell me, I know the city obviously covers mainly the city areas and the city streets, so tell me a little bit about your boundaries there.
We basically run from city limits to city limits. We do plow the state trunk lines as well, and 23 North, we go beyond the city limits, or basically up to Hamilton Road with plowing the state trunk lines. We do that under contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation. They reimburse us for those expenses associated with maintaining the state trunk lines.
And we have heard at recent DDA meetings the solution that they're trying to get to in terms of, the sidewalk is the homeowner's responsibility, the street is the city's responsibility, and then there's that little area in between that definitely makes it difficult for people, especially who park on the streets there, to get out. So I know the DDA is working in conjunction with the city to kind of fix this problem.
Yes, and it's for lack of a better term, a battle zone there, because the property owners, they clean the sidewalk off, they push it to the curbside. Our plow trucks plow it off the street, push it to the curbside, and it just gets mounded up there. What we started a couple years ago is we run a night man, and when time allows, he doesn't have other activities, he targets removing snow along that curb line in the downtown. Basically, we have no room to store it in the downtown, and that's why it's targeted for snow removal. In the outlying areas, you have the area between the curb and the sidewalk where snow can pile up. Downtown, we just don't have that, and the snow piles get pretty high pretty fast there. So it takes the extra effort to try to get that snow removed. Pretty good success with using the Nightman to do that type of snow removal. Can't get a lot of it done, but he can keep working at it as time and equipment allow.
And that is because, the beginning of this month, the overnight parking is completely not allowed, right?
Correct.
On the streets.
Correct.
So that's because of the snow removal policy.
Yes. Yeah, it's we started October 1st, and
okay.
Basically it's so that you can't, we do have the ability to do snow removal.
And in terms of what we talked a little bit about just before, homeowners' responsibility and the sidewalks, getting those cleared, tell me more about that and what you guys do for that.
It is the property owner's responsibility to clear the sidewalk in front of their home or in front of their business. We really want to caution people not to push the snow into the sidewalk line. It's illegal to push it across the street or into the street, but also to keep those banks down adjacent to the driveways. It gets, we have a heavy snow season, those piles can get pretty high, obstruct vision coming out of the driveway, could lead to some accidents. So we try to get people to keep those sidewalks clean for pedestrian activity, but also watch how they pile the snow so it doesn't block the sidewalk, doesn't block their vision as they're exiting their driveway.
And in the past few years and the past few winters, what are some major specific challenges you guys have seen?
It's really so weather dependent. I'll never bet against Mother Nature. She's always going to win. But you get those snowstorms where you just get an inch or two of snow, but the roads get slick. Then we're out salting. There's not enough to plow, and we burn up a lot of salt in trying to keep the roads clear. And in the past, we've had the pavement down to a wet condition. We may be moving away from that. Not necessarily have the entire street wet, just have a traffic lane or a wheel path clear of snow, so that people can still keep their vehicles under control. But with salt prices going up, it's a very expensive proposition.
As far as hours each day in the winter, when do you guys say, we get a big snowstorm in the morning? A lot of kids are looking at that a lot of times, seeing snow days, and we are going to talk a little bit more about that with Mike Gagne later. But in terms of getting the plows out there and everything in the mornings, when do you guys start that?
It really depends on the snow event. If we've got snow coming and it starts in the late evening, we'll have our crews come in about 2 o'clock in the morning. That way they can make a pass down the major streets. They won't necessarily get to all the streets, but they'll at least get the majors plowed before the main morning traffic starts. Then we can run them up to about 16 hours a day. A lot of times, if the snow's continuing, we'll send most of the crew home in the afternoon with the intention that they're going to come back in again after midnight to replow all the streets. So it's really dependent upon the weather, the forecast, what we've got on the ground, what we've got coming.
And anything new you guys are taking into this season that haven't tried before, or any new utilizations?
No, we've had pretty good success with the equipment that we use, and we're just going to take it on one day at a time as the snow and the weather comes.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Rich, so much for your time. We appreciate you being here and all the information.
Thank you.
And coming up next, we will be speaking with Larry Orcutt from the Alpena County Road Commission to talk about more from what the city doesn't cover. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back to Insights into Northeast Michigan, everyone. I'm Lindsay DeLucia. Today we're talking about winter road maintenance preparation. The season is coming up, and pretty soon we're going to see those roads covered with snow. So right now I'm here talking with Larry Orcutt from the Alpena County Road Commission. Larry, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome, and good morning, Lindsay.
Yes, you too. And so we just spoke with Rich Sullinger from the city, and so now I understand that the city and the county kind of coordinates on where each of you cover. So tell me first a little bit about your property that you guys go out to.
The County Road Commission maintains all the road systems outside of the city limits. Between the Road Commission and city, we do alternate on some of the boundary roads, and in some cases overlap maintenance on critical intersections during the winter.
And I take it that you guys also start planning pretty far in advance for the preparation for the maintenance, excuse me.
Yes, we actually have to order salt in March before the following winter, so really the planning continues all year as far as the initial start. And
are some of the obstacles that you guys face in the season kind of the same that the city does as well?
They are fairly similar. One of the biggest differences probably is the 450 miles of gravel roads that we have in the county. This time of year, it's fairly critical for us to be out there trying to keep them in fairly good condition before freeze up. So, once the gravel roads freeze in a pothole condition, that's pretty much the way they're going to be all winter.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about, obviously it freezes up quicker, but what else makes, the gravel roads out by Hubbard Lake or something like that different from the city roads here?
Well, More so for us, we get into a sanding intersections, with a sand salt mixture so that they're not slippery during the winter. They do tend to get ice build up throughout the winter.
And do you guys have more meetings in the winter for the commission, or?
Really doesn't affect the meetings. So basically, of course, we monitor weather as it's coming in and try and schedule our crews accordingly.
How many crew members do you have? Do you increase the crews during the winter season?
We do increase to a certain extent with a couple temporary drivers that come in on an as-needed basis. Typically, we have about 16 operators on the road, during a typical day.
And how much of the budget for the county commission is this?
Winter maintenance is about a third of our annual transportation funding, so it is substantial.
And in the past few years, I know I asked Rich this, but have you guys faced any, we didn't have a terrible winter this past season, which is good, but in the past few, have there been certain problems that you faced or anything that you're taking into this year?
Well, of course, with all transportation agencies, the funding has been pretty limited and costs of salt, like Rich mentioned, have gone up. So, we continually try to maintain a balance, and certainly take into consideration public safety and still stay within a reasonable budget range throughout the year.
And with ongoing projects on the roads, how does that work? Do you stop projects beforehand, before the season begins, or what do you do about that?
Yes, typically, like right now, we are finishing up a few summer projects so that, hopefully they're done before the winter sets in. And like I mentioned, try and get the gravel roads in pretty decent condition for winter.
And do you guys also face an issue with homeowners and pushing snow?
Yes, continually. It does have an impact to us and the public when people plow snow across the road, or especially plow snow and leave it out on the road shoulder. It can freeze down, and we have had damage to our equipment, in the past from hitting those hard banks of snow.
So what do you suggest for homeowners out that way?
Definitely don't push your snow out into the right of way. Keep the roadway clean. Like I said, don't blow, people with snow blowers I've seen blowing it back onto the roadway after the roadway is clean, and can cause a potential slippery spot where people can lose control.
And are there any other ways you work in conjunction with the city throughout the season?
Really, we take care of our own systems, pretty individually. We do coordinate, like I said, under some of the major intersections. We may both treat this intersection, on whoever gets there first basis.
And being that you go out, past city limits throughout the county, you go through the schools and you get to all the different schools we have here in Alpena County. Tell me about, is it different out there? Do you guys have any different strategies that you use out towards the schools?
Definitely within our county, conditions can be greatly different from one area to another. So, we continually adjust our crews accordingly. We also maintain the state highways within the county under contract with MDOT. So, our mainly focused initially priority-wise on the state highways, try and do the other major roads, and then, ultimately get to the secondary road system. And you did mention a little before, as did Rich, about the increasing funds, especially with salt prices going up. How do you maintain that even into this year? How have you maintained that budget? Well, basically, we've done that through attrition of employees and, basically the equipment out there. We have had a point where we had upwards of 35 people out on a road, and, say now we're down to about 16. So it has had a dramatic impact.
So that's definitely some major changes throughout the past few
Right.
years. Okay, anything else you want to add about anything you want the community to be informed about going into the season, or anything like that?
Well, we have been, fairly aggressive into trying to do what we can with modernized equipment to, do efficient winter maintenance. Several of our trucks now have a side plow on the side that, will help widen the road in one pass more so than two. The public just needs to be aware, that all of our trucks, maintenance trucks, have pretty limited visibility. One of the common mistakes that's we see from drivers is they'll pull up too close behind a truck, not knowing that that truck can't see them at all. And in many cases, they're backing at an intersection that they finish cleaning it up, and there may be a potential of an accident.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Larry, for all of the information. We appreciate your time here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And coming up next, we'll be speaking with Mike Gagne, who's part of the Facilities and Transportation over with APS, so stay tuned for that. Welcome back to Insights into Northeast Michigan, everyone. I'm Lindsay DeLucia, and now for our final segment, I'm here with Mike Gagne of Alpena Public Schools Transportation Facilities. So thanks so much for joining us, Mike.
Thank you.
So if you could start off by telling me, we spoke with Rich a little bit from the city and Larry from the county, the Alpena County Road Commission. Tell me how the schools prepare for winter maintenance with the school buses.
With the school buses, the first thing we start with, and we started doing it today, is the block heaters that are on the fence. We make sure those are all operational so that the buses will all start in the morning. In October, typically our district has our state inspections done, and all the buses go through and we get anything mechanically that the state may notice on our buses up to speed and where we need to be.
And that happens yearly?
That happens yearly in October for us. That's typically when the state does it for us.
Gotcha. And do you guys have to bring in new or different crews for, drivers maybe for the season?
No, we don't bring in additional crews. We do have 33 routes that we have. We have 7 spare buses. What we do have are relief drivers, and we are short on relief drivers presently, and we do need to look for more. But it's just helping us, because when you get in the winter months, flu season, the drivers, as the kids do, they're going to get sick also, and they're working in conditions where that door at every stop is opening and closing, and it's cold.
Yeah.
That bus is cold.
And so what are some qualifications for relief drivers that you guys are looking for?
Being able to communicate well, be able to relate to kids, definitely be on time, be an early riser. Those are some of the primary things that we're looking for.
Well, going back to in terms of school day or snow days for the schools, it's about how many? 5 per year?
5 per year. We're allocated by the state that we can have before we get into a makeup. Sometimes when the state has a bad winter, whether it's due to ice or snow or whatever, in the number of snow days that a lot of districts have, the state may rethink how many days they're going to allocate before makeup. And that determination is made during the winter sometime.
And do you guys obviously maybe coordinate with the county commission and the city during those days? I mean,
yes, we work quite extensively with both Presqu'île, the road commission, and primarily Alpena's. We're in constant contact with their night crew that works, and during the day we know who to contact. We contact them on road conditions. We use the National Weather Service. Technology now is a great thing, and off an iPad or a phone you can look at what radar is doing and kind of forecast what we're going to see. It's difficult. Some days you get it right. Some days you might, maybe we should have done it differently, but for the most part, I think we do a really good job with that.
Yeah, how do you decide on that? I mean, what are some factors that you look at?
Some factors are temperature. The buses can go through a decent amount of snow. Where it gets difficult is when it's a wet snow. Obviously, the wet snow is going to cause problems with the base, and then it's going to get icy, and that's more problematic than a fluff snow. A fluff snow may not have that icy base under it, and it's a little bit easier to drive in. At night, when we do have a snowfall that's out, there's 2 individuals that will typically review the roads. One will go south, one will go north, and we're in contact with the road commissions as to what the conditions are. And sometimes Our district is 635 square miles. We go all the way to the South Alpena border and all the way up to the 638 up in Presque Isle up by 23. And sometimes when we do make a call to cancel snow, say Osneek might be pretty decent, but north of town just might be just
Right.
inundated with snow when we make the call that way.
Right. What are some main problems you see maybe with the buses in the wintertime?
The main problem with the buses is starting because of cold weather.
Yeah.
If we have a long weekend, to make sure the block heaters haven't tripped for some reason. There's a lot more cleaning that's involved with the buses. We have a lot of buses that are more buses are going through the wash rack to keep them clean, to keep the lights clear, so that they're safe when we do stops.
Yeah, and that's another big thing. We've been hearing a lot lately about running flashing lights with school buses, especially in the daytime.
That is a major concern. I'm not too sure it's more during the winter. It's just a year-round thing.
Yeah.
But potentially because of the snow and the type of environment we're in during the winter, it potentially could become more of a dangerous situation. The thing is when a stop arm is out, the lights are going to be on for that bus. Nobody goes past it. It's stop.
Right.
You stop. And one thing that I need to get out is that not only is that for a 2-lane is that true, but it's also if you're in a 5-lane with a left turn lane, it's also true. You need the drivers that are out there need to stop. They need to stop for the buses to make it safe.
A lot of people overlook that or don't even know that if you're in that type of a lane, you need to stop still.
And if anybody sees a vehicle that's run, if they can call us and give us an update as to maybe a description of the vehicle and just the plate, that's all we really need to do to have law enforcement that's been very cooperative with us as far as prosecuting.
Sure, and I mean, especially like you said, in the winter months, it's just easier for something terrible to happen.
And let's face it, if it's winter
Yeah.
and it's snowing, it's a lot harder to stop.
Right.
So the potential for danger for injury is much greater.
All right. Well, anything else you would like to add about preparing for this winter season?
That is basically what we do. The other thing is that the drivers, their work during the winter is probably more difficult than their fall and spring, in that they're just dealing with weather. They're scraping their buses off. All the buses are parked outside, so they've got to warm up. And I guess just bear with us as far as being with the stops, 5 minutes one way or another. Typically in the winter, we're going to be deciding on the time for a stop maybe later in the bus route than it is normally in the spring and fall, when obviously we're not dealing with the weather situation.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us here and for telling us all this great information.
Well, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Of course. And thanks so much for watching Insights into Northeast Michigan this week. Tune in next week where we'll be speaking with some representatives from the Community Foundation for Northeast Michigan and some nonprofits to talk about a new thing that the foundation is doing. So watch that next week, and thanks for watching this week.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.
The furniture and set design for this episode of Insights is provided by Young Appliance Art Van Furniture on US 23 South, Alpena.